Tennessee's Wild Side is a presentation of the Jackson Foundation.
The oldest registered cattle breed in the world is trending again. In fact, these long-haired cows described as cute and somewhat cuddly are quite the social media sensation. The resurgence in their popularity has prompted many people to add Highland cattle to their Tennessee farms. But we were particularly curious about a young Davidson County couple who have procured them for family heritage, land management, and playful pets.
So the big red one is Bonnie Jean, and the silver, who's got the white coat, is Sigrid. Celtic and Gaelic heritage is really strong in my family on both sides. And Tennessee heritage and agriculture heritage is also very strong in my family.
I don't have the family history. It was an all new experience. I mean, I grew up around the Smokies, so I grew up in the woods and loving that, but I had never been around large animals in any significant way. So that was definitely a change.
And I'll just tell you, it's my fault, not hers. Active farmland still down in Spring Hill, and we've got the family cemetery down there, right down by the land that my great uncle still owns. And the first grave date in that cemetery predates the founding of Tennessee as a state. And they've still got cattle, horses, everything running down there. And I've always wanted to do the same. So once you get to that point in life where you can do it, I said, you know what, I'm gonna make it happen. And we've got 4 acres up here. We've got just enough to make it happen.
I mean, I knew that his family had that history with large animals like that and in agriculture in Middle Tennessee, but I didn't quite know that he was, you know, so gung-ho to tackle it ourselves.
Surprise.
But
I'm also a naturalist and a conservationist, and I was trained at the Nashville Zoo in behavioral husbandry. Love large animals, I love working with them. So it was a combination of heritage and just really wanting to be around animals and learn about them and interact with them in a meaningful way. When we got them, they were tiny. They were 6 months old and horns, you know, an inch long, just little fuzz balls. Cute as can be, but I'd definitely say that you've grown into it and
Yeah.
become a cowgirl yourself, I would say.
And it was one of those times where we had been sitting around here, just the two of us, and you get those thoughts of like, what do I want to do? Now it has to be the time, you know? I think the pandemic brought out that in a lot of us of, if you're not going to do it now, then when? In the case that they do get out or something, out of the fence somehow, if something happened to the fence, we need some sort of identifying call for them to hear that and say, oh, if I go towards that, I can get good treats and food.
Hi, Sigrid.
They were surprisingly less work than I thought they would be. The Highland species itself is very hardy. They pretty much can fend for themselves if they have the right resources. We have a lot of the right resources up here, and we definitely had enough of them when they were little. Now that they're larger, we have to supplement with some hay and some grain and some of the extra minerals that they need.
It's very natural up here. We don't use fertilizer, we don't use insecticides. The cattle are up here for land management. And so the 4-ish acres that they have access to, all this stuff that's growing, I mean, when we moved up here, it was just grass, just flat grass, looked like a subdivision yard. And that didn't interest me at all, and didn't interest Brandy either. And so we just let them mow and have their way with the land, because Highland cows will eat literally anything. Poison ivy, evergreen trees, any type of grass, weed, anything. And it's just been really cool to watch them turn this forest into their home. Savanna grassland habitat is what a lot of the Southeast used to be, and there used to be bison out here, which is more or less the same thing as a Highland cow, just from a different continent. So this ecosystem up here has become what it used to be probably 100, 200 years ago, because we have the cattle on it, which I think has been really fascinating to watch.
I guess the biggest hurdle was us learning how to communicate with them and kind of teaching them things and getting close to them.
You have to build that bond with a 1,000-pound animal that's got 3-foot horns, or you're gonna end up with a hole in your thigh, which I still have, but I just have one, which means we've done a pretty good job, I would say.
There's definitely been some bruises along the way.
Don't be a brat.
Ow, you too.
No. Knock it off.
I think it helps them forage too. I've definitely observed the girls. They'll take the horn, hook it around a small tree, bend it over to eat the leaves. It's kind of amazing. They use them like tools.
Our big red cow, Bonnie Jean, is a big dog. Basically, she's a sweetheart. She's my little baby. She runs up to me and she wants me to hug around her. And Sigrid is our silver. She would soon as rather mow you over than give you anything that resembles a hug. But she can also be very sweet and affectionate. She loves to be brushed.
I think a lot of my relationship with them is centered around food and brushing, the things they really enjoy. I don't usually do the big hugs like John does just because I generally stay out of their horn range.
I have different whistles that I can tell them to do different things and come different ways.
Come on, babies, I know. Hi, sweetie, come get your hay.
It's just really fascinating to get outside and interact with the animal that you love. And to anybody else, it would just be two cows, but they're such individuals. They're so different. Bonnie Jean's my favorite. Big Red, she's a sweetheart. She was the first one when I was hand training them to just walk up and take a treat straight out of my hand. She'll let me get on her back now. I'll be riding that cow before you know it. The hope is to breed and to start selling them to other people for land management. You know, goats are very popular for land management, and Highland cow is just a much bigger, much more efficient, much better tempered goat. So I'd love to start breeding them and getting them out there for other people to start doing the same thing that we're doing up here. So that's definitely where I'd like to take it.
I think they've spread a lot worldwide too. Like I think a lot more people now are realizing how hardy the species is, and they can have them anywhere from New Mexico up to Vermont.
And you can build them a barn and they won't go in it. They literally do not want to be in a barn. They want to be out. If it's raining, they want to stand in it. If it's snowing, they're in love. They want to just stand in the snow and be covered in it.
Even though you look out and you see a cow covered in snow and you're worried about them, they're perfectly fine.
They've got a really unique double coat of hair. They've got this downy fluff underneath, and then they've got that long hair, which is what you see on the outside. That's really good for, you can make wool out of it, just like you can from sheep's wool. They've got really unique hooves too that don't require any sort of trimming. They're as nature built them, so you can just leave them to their own devices and make sure they're provided for, and they're just 100% good to go. The first thing everybody wants to do is meet the cow. And we love doing that. It's so fun to have them up here.
Because it is so popular and because it's seen so much, people kind of forget the danger aspect of them.
What could go wrong? Y'all gonna show off? I'm gonna get out of the way. There's a danger element to any large animal, but they are big, sweet animals at the end of the day. You just have to be careful and know what you're doing. I really personally enjoy teaching other people about the cattle and how to interact with them and how to go about having a safe interaction with them, because you can't beat it.